As a self-storage business owner, do you know what probably the main KPI, key performance indicator, you should be tracking as the owner? Do you know what that is? Well, I wrote about what I think it is in the book, Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and let's talk about it right now. Hello, my name is Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Self-Storage Quick Start Academy. And what I do is I support small investors who want to get in the self-storage business or who want to grow their self-storage business, strategically do so in a way that creates true wealth and a fulfilling career. And I've talked a lot in these episodes about the KPIs that we use with our managers. In fact, we have 5 key performance indicators that we track with our managers monthly. If you want to learn more about that, go to episode 156 at creatingwealththroughselfstorage.com and get the transcript of this video, and there will be a link to the episode with the 5 KPI. But I want to talk about a KPI as a business owner that I have my eye on, and that I think is probably the most critical part of your business that as an owner you can watch. This is the KPI that creates the real wealth in self-storage, in my opinion. And that is keeping your income growth growing faster than your expense growth. Now, there are a lot of ways to track that, but ultimately what happens is your net operating income is growing. Your net operating income, or the NOI, is determined by your income minus operating expenses before loan payments, before capital improvements, and anything else that's not an operating expense at running your business or facility. The NOI is the critical number. Why? Well, because the value of your asset is determined by the net operating income. Appraisers and buyers very often will take the net operating income, divide it by the prevailing capitalization rate, or cap rate at the time, and that determines the value of your storage facility or your business, or what a ready, willing, and able buyer might pay for your storage business. The bottom line is, I've found out, whether it's my business or I'm working with managers or employees or partners, whatever you put your eye on, whatever you measure, you tend to begin to have an effect on it. Why? Because you're watching it, you're thinking about it, you're making decisions that would affect it. And if it's being measured, you probably have a better chance of moving that in the direction that you want it to go. So let's dive deeply today into this owner's KPI I'm talking about. Now, nothing will create the wealth that self-storage can faster than having your income grow at a faster rate than your operating expenses grow. Why? Well, because that difference over a time period of 2, 3, 5, 10 years, that difference compounds. The bad news is, if it's moving the other way, if your income is flat but your operating expenses are going up, that negative growth can also compound. So let's really look at this. If you remember in the book, Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, how I learned to do this, and this was from working with the REITs, I learned to take and make sure that the income each year goes up. Now, in our performance, we typically put in 3% a year. Now, 3% a year income growth is not hard to get, if you think about it. Even during the recession from 2008 to 2010 or 11, we averaged over 3% a year income growth. Now, there were years where I did not have a price increase, but over that time period, we were able to raise our prices at different points in time that averaged in over 3% over that time period. But if you really think about it, if you've got a 10 by 10 at $80 and you raise the price of it 3%, what is that? What does that go to? Is that $2.50 or something like that? most of your tenants won't move out for a $2.50 price increase. And if they do, fine, because you can most likely replace them with someone who can. Now, you've got to stay relevant to your market. You don't want to be 20-30% over your market. But depending on your business strategy, you very well could want to be at the top of your market. Now, over the past decade or so, inflation has grown at about 2.5% a year. So when we do our pro formas, we usually put 3% a year for our income growth and 2.5% a year for our operating expense growth. So that 0.5% gap between income growth and expense growth, that's what can create real wealth in the self-storage business. How much wealth? Well, let's take a look. If you remember in the book, Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, if you read it, we would talk about an idea, and then I would take that concept and translate it and share a transaction that we had recently completed as we put a self-storage facility into service. And in the book, I shared the 10-year cash flow for the facility that we were buying. Let's take a look at that now. This is what I thought the project would look like, or at least this is what I told my investors it would look like. So you can see that the income is going up 3% a year. Expenses are going up 2.5% a year. Now let's take a look at the NOI line. Now this is always amazing to me. Now this is just 0.5%. In year one, we projected that the net operating income was going to be $601,653. By year 5, with nothing more, there's no more action going on here than just that 0.5% increase in operating expenses under income, the NOI was projected to be $684,125. Again, nothing more than 0.5%. Now, when I did this analysis in 2013, I didn't know what cap rates were going to be 5-6 years from now, so I used a 9 cap when I did this projection. And I don't know what cap rates are going to be 5 or 6 years from now. So I usually try to have my cap rates be more than what the current cap rates are now. But back in 2013, I projected by year 5, this project would be worth $7,601,387. Now let's take a look at what really happened. In year 5, the actual NOI was $676,787. Now that's slightly under, that's under by 1.07% what I projected. But think about that. That's how accurate you can project self-storage. Not bad, really. But here's the good news. The cap rates remained much lower than what I projected. And when we received an appraisal in the last quarter of 2017, it appraised for $10.4 million. That's way above the 7.6 I projected. So we refinanced it, paid our investors off. In reality, for that facility, our income was much higher than what I projected on that 10-year cash flow. But our operating expenses were much higher than what I projected on that 10-year cash flow. But I kept my eye month by month on that net operating income. Each year, that 10-year cash flow projection became our budget for that year. And I would take all those numbers, divide it by 12, and each month I would look, where are we? And I kept my eye on where we are, especially on that net operating income line. Where are we in relation to where we said we would be? And again, my experience is whatever you track and measure, you can have a dramatic effect on it. So we got real interested a few years ago in reducing our operating expenses. In the last year, our net income went higher for this portfolio than our gross income. Why? Well, because we were really focused on watching those operating expenses. So in your facility, here's my question. Are you tracking where you are on your net operating income? Are you tracking your income growth over your expense growth? If not, my suggestion is create some future cash flows today and then start tracking that month by month. Create a budget, and your budget will be a function of whatever you think you should be getting in the next 3 to 4 years. Then track it and make sure. I know the line item numbers are going to change, but that net operating income, it is with self-storage, you can track that and keep on track for that net operating income better in self-storage than any other type of real estate play. Why? Because there's so few variables hitting your net operating income line. That's why we can project future cash flows and then 5 years later be 1.07% off. It's not that we're geniuses, it's just that if you can grow your income at 3% and keep your operating expenses 2.5%, voila, there you go. There's very little else that can affect it. Nothing creates wealth better for the small investor than self-storage. But start thinking and running your business strategically. If you're just getting in the business, this is what I suggest you do. Take those future cash flow projections, and those are your budgets year by year. You meet or exceed your net operating income line that you projected before it even went into service. Believe me, your investors and partners and bankers and everyone will take note of that. And remember, just keep your income growing faster than your expenses. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Storage World Analyzer. That's the tool that we use to create the future cash flows we've been talking about this entire episode. If you're not good with Excel especially, go to the storageworldanalyzer.com and look at that tool. It is a fantastic financial analysis tool that you can use, and it will also help you determine what you can pay today to get those cash flows. When we're looking at a project, if I'm not getting the return I need, I will adjust the price till I get the return I need. Then if we can purchase the property at that price, then that 10-year cash flow is my budget year by year. So if you're not using it, look at it. Thank you. I look forward to being with you next week.